Welcome to Bolt Mortem, the search for a lost fantasy classic. Hello, everybody. Jake here. I'm just wondering. Sorry. Whoo! Oh, sorry. Had to have a bit of a doozy of a headache. Anyway, hello, everybody. Jake here, and I got a. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry, everybody. I'll be right back in just a moment. Hey, I need something. Okay, yeah, let's give that a minute or two to kick in. Well, that makes sense. But before we get to that, we're going to chat about our author. And we're not, listen up, we are not going to make any jokes about his name, okay? We're not going to do that. We are a professional, mature channel here. Michael John Moorcock is an English author born December 18th, 1939, and he's still out there rocking. Mikey started contributing to the pulps when he was a teenager, and in 1964 he became the editor of New Worlds and changed speculative fiction forever as he was influential in the New Wave movement. He is most well known for Behold the Man, a novella in which he won a Nebula for, and for the novels featuring Eric of whatever. Moorcock received a plethora of awards. Here they are. And he was awarded these under 7 pseudonyms. Here those are, although the body of his work was written under his own name. Moorcock is also an accomplished musician, collaborating with Hawkwind, Blue Oyster Cult, and his own band, Michael Moorcock and the Deep Fix, along with many others. My first experience with Michael Moorcock wasn't this book, but rather this interview.
This even happened to me with my very modest non-fiction career when I wrote 100 must-read science fiction novels for A&C Black. And to be fair, they were great and they were all over me and they were good, and I put the final program in that one, by the way, from every period. But I think it seemed to me, tell me if I'm wrong, but it seemed to me that in the 80s, end of the 70s, mid-70s, end 70s, into the 80s, you finally had a chance to sit down and they were great, they said, what are you going to do next and what have you. And the book did well, and then the next one did well. The third one, I ended up with a new...
current books,
I've just read Publicist, who was no good.
Absolutely.
And it died without trace. And that was called 100 Must-Read Fantasy. And funnily enough, I put Ulrich and Melibne.
If you don't have time to watch this hour-long interview, a short summary of it was provided by the Book Rapport.
Well, thank you so much, Michael. You've been such a dear talking to me today, having an interview, and allowing me to refresh your memory about what dear friends we've been over the years, and how long our relationship is, and how much I've helped you in your career. It's been such a lovely, lovely discussion. Right, well, I probably ought to be gone now. What the was that?
Although Moorcock has slowed his frenetic pace over the years, he is still writing stories to this very day.
I hope to be doing it for another 100 years or so. I mean, we'll see.
Listen, what else do you want me to say? If you have any questions about Michael Moorcock, he's still alive. Just go ask him yourself. Which brings us to Jewel in the Skull, the Rune Staff. It was a mysterious lost artifact said to contain all the secrets of destiny, and on an ancient and strangely alien Earth, it influenced the destinies of Dorian Hawkmoon, who sold his sword to anyone who would pay the price and despised all who needed his services, but who found himself trapped by the evilly sentient black jewel in his skull. King Huon, ruler of the sinister, implacable Dark Empire. Baron Meliadus, the king's right-hand man, motivated entirely by vengeance. Count Brass, protector of the people of Camargue, the last corner of the world to hold out against the Dark Empire's merciless advance. Ezelut, the Count's daughter, as soft and as strong as silk, and many others in a stirring new saga of swords and sorcery by a brilliant writer, the first of a series destined to rank with the Conan series and the Lord of the Rings trilogy. The Jewel in the Skull is an original story first published by Lancer Books in 1967. It is 175 pages and originally cost 60 cents. I own the first edition. The cover is by Gray Morrow, and it's great. I do prefer the 73 Lancer edition as they enlarge this beautiful image, but the original black border and blood red font give this sort of an edge, I think. The Jewel of the Skull was also adapted into a comic, although I haven't checked it out for myself, so I can't speak to its quality. Because this book has like a billion reprintings, you shouldn't have any trouble finding a copy you want for well under $5. As you may know, for Fantasy February, I put up a poll for each week and let you guys vote on what I should read. And the poll was a bit of a blowout. Well, to be fair, at 28%, poor little Crow Man, he put up a respectable showing. But out of the 144 votes Week 1 received, the Jewel in the Skull won a decided victory at 46%. Was this a good recommendation, or are all you guys just messing with me, deriving sick pleasure out of my sufferings? Well, let's find out. The story opens with one of our Conan-esque heroes, Count Brass. He is larger than life, the ruler of Camargue, and he might as well be King Conan. He is out riding over his lands, and this might be him on the front cover, although this could also be the warrior of jet and gold that appears later in the story. I'm not exactly sure. The land of Camargue is wild. Dense swamps, wind-swept, gale-force wind-swept plains, surrounded by these jagged mountains. It is wild, but Camargue is free. While passing through the swamps, Count Brass finds himself hunted by a Baragoon, a giant, twisted creature. A mutated human, fueled by vengeance, drags itself out of the quagmire, and Count Brass is forced to use strength, fighting prowess, and intelligence to defeat this monster.
So, brutal start.
He emerges from the swamp victoriously atop his horned horse, whilst giant flamingos fly overhead. It wouldn't sound like it, but immersion in this fantastical world is instantaneous. Moorcock beckons you deeper with the tone, interesting characters, excellent action, fascinating locales, and the expertly doled out lore. We do learn more about this world, and the pieces of lore and the history are expertly and precisely doled out. This is no small feat considering Moorcock rushed the writing of this book. This is not an ancient world like the back cover states, but rather a futuristic but post-apocalyptic world. We learn that there is something called the Tragic Millennium that happened a long time ago, and biological and nuclear warfare are heavily implied. This explains the many mutants and freaks we read about, and monsters and creatures, explains even how the weather is altered and things like that. The world is really clever. It's really well done. Typically, I'm just going to let you guys know, typically, I am hesitant to start a book that I know is a part of a ongoing series or where there's multiples or sequels, and I think there's 4 in this. You guys correct me if I'm wrong. Some of you guys are probably different. Some of you might like to know that there is a sequel after sequel after sequel. Me, I just prefer a contained one-off type story so I can move on to something else. That being said, I'm definitely going to hunt down and read the rest of these. This is actually broken up into 3 books, and we aren't introduced to our main protagonist, Dorian Hawkmoon von Koln, until the 2nd book. Now, the back description of Hawkmoon isn't accurate. He is not a mercenary, but rather the former ruler of Koln, a kingdom that has been conquered by the cruel Dark Empire. The warrior prince is now a prisoner, and his defeat has left him mentally a broken man. Now, he's not driven mad, but rather his mind is damaged to a point of him being, as it says in the book, more than sane. He's emotionless, detached, completely rational. At this point, he's more robot than man. Torture has no effect, and he wordlessly and emotionlessly languishes away. Then one day, Hawkmoon is paid a visit by Baron Meliadus, the right-hand man and the commander of the armies of the evil King Huan. In Book 1, we read that Meliadus traveled to Camargue as an envoy to try and entreat Count Brass to join the evil empire. Now, Brass is disinterested in the affairs of the entire world. He's just, leave me alone, everybody, and cares for nothing outside of his kingdom of Camargue. So he politely rejects Meliadus. The evil Baron is enraged, but stronger than his rage are his feelings for Count Brass's daughter, the beautiful Yiselda. He forces himself upon her and tries to kidnap her, but he is interrupted and stopped by Count Brass, who then fights Meliodas. I'm going to say it wrong 12 more times. If you guys aren't used to it by now, Count Brass defeats Meliodas in combat, but spares him, which only multiplies his shame. Meliodas is fueled with rage and lust, but he's also crafty. He knows that he can't just show his face in Camargue again. But what about the legendary hero, Dorian Hawkmoon? Hawkmoon is taken to a scientist/sorcerer, and installed into his forehead is the Black Jewel. It is an ancient and forgotten magic/science. To ensure his service, the jewel acts like a body cam, relaying everything Hawkmoon sees back to Baron Meliodas. Hawkmoon is ordered to travel to Camargue to gain Count Brass's trust, and then kidnap Princess Yiselda and bring her to the Baron. However, if there is even a hint of betrayal, life will begin to flow into the Black Jewel. It will come alive, and it will slowly begin to eat Hawkmoon's brain. Being honest with you guys, at first I was struggling with the change in protagonist. Typically, I don't really like when books do that. Now, I've seen it done well, but for the most part, if we start a story with somebody, and this is just personal preference, I like to I don't like being jarred. I don't like that whiplash effect. Like, whoa, wait a second. Okay, then this is somebody new. I get over it quickly, but it's just one of those personal nitpicks that I don't care much for. Maybe what heightened this for me at the time was I was really enjoying book 1 with Count Brass. I really liked him, and I really was hoping the story would stay with him. However, soon I was fully invested in Dorian Hawkmoon's plight. He fully intends on robotically following through with Meliodas' orders, but finds that as he is spending time with Count Brass and Yiselda and all the characters there in Camargue, he finds that his humanity is slowly returning, and with it, feelings for Yiselda. Hawkmoon is forced to make a decision. Will he allow himself to be used by the evil that destroyed his kingdom, or will he risk a horrifying death and defy the Dark Kingdom, knowing that it will bring war to Camargue? Hawkmoon makes his decision, knowing full well that his only hope lie in something so shrouded in mystery and legend that it may not be true. It may be a forgotten relic of the past. It may just be that, just a legend. But he knows that his survival lay in the mysterious and powerful rune staff. The characters in this book, and Dorian Hawkmoon in particular, are great. Another standout character is one that we know next to nothing about, and that is the warrior in jet and gold. As I said before, this may be him on the front cover, I'm not sure. This warrior follows Dorian Hawkmoon through his quest. We often see him, and then he quickly disappears. Hawkmoon isn't even sure if he is real or not, or maybe just a dream or a hallucination. The mysterious warrior is a servant of the rune staff, and he lets Hawkmoon know that so is he. He just doesn't know it yet. What is he talking about? What even is the rune staff? After closing this first book, we don't know. We aren't given this answer just yet. But every time this mysterious character appears, we are reminded of a much larger and much more mysterious world. Masks.
I mean, I have a mask right here. I put a mask on, when I think I need it.
All the servants of the Dark Empire wear these ornate, creepy masks. No, not those creepy masks. This is so cool and so creepy. Settle down, everybody. Stop looking for controversy. This is so cool and so creepy, and they're all animal masks. And like Baron Meliodas is wearing a wolf mask, very ornate, very detailed. It's very cool, and so is everyone in his Order of the Wolf. There's also like vultures, pigs, all these different animals. It's often said, though never fully explained, that the servants of the Dark Empire are insane. Now, I'm not sure if the characters in this book use that terminology in the exact technical term, or just rather to imply that there is some sort of madness about this empire. I really don't know, but they are dangerous and very cool villains. The battles are many, and they're awesome. The title also is pretty cool. I mean, Jewel in the Skull, that is so metal. No, Mikey, I said metal, not your weird Brit punk band. There are so many cool little moments in this that I can't even list them all. I mean, like from the reveal of the immortal sorceress Agonosvos to King Huon's description, how magic or sorcery is explained, the fusion of futuristic and primitive weapons in the warfare, and even Oladon. Oladon is this mountain giant in the third book who is actually a fuzzy dwarf, and he joins Hawkmoon in his quest. Oladon could have very easily been kind of a cringy comic relief sidekick, and that's where I thought we were going. But he ended up being a fun, competent character. Even the Black Jewel itself, there was scarcely an element of this book that I did not like, which brings us to the bad. The astute among you may have noticed that I referred to Count Brass's daughter as Yselda, while the back cover has her listed as Isolute. So which is it? Yselda. Like, it's Yselda. If you read any SF from this area, it's no secret that the covers, both front and back, can be a little erroneous from time to time. This isn't Moorcock's fault, but rather whoever showed up at Lancer Books that Monday drunk.
Look, the alcohol has rendered me a simpleton. Maybe you should just call it a day.
I'm sure you've heard that authors should show and not tell in regards to their description, what's happening in their stories. The truth is, this is good advice, but the truth is all authors should tell some, and in fact they have to tell some without any exposition whatsoever. We don't know what we're reading, which I've honestly read some books like that. Moorcock, he shows and he tells. Maybe 50-50. Let me give you guys a few examples. Everywhere men were falling, and it seemed the great majority were Grand Britons. The fight in the air was almost over. Only a few ornithopters circled the sky, while there seemed to be many more flamingos. Was it possible that Camargue was winning? Baron Meliadus swore to himself that Camargue would become one great furnace in which all who inhabited it would perish, and he swore by the rune staff, and thus the destiny of Baron Meliadus, Count Brass, Yselda, and the Dark Empire, and all who were now and would later concerned with the events in Castle Brass were irrevocably decided. The play was cast, the stage set, the curtain raised. Now the mummers must enact their destiny. What's a mummer? You kiss your mummer with that mouth? This pulling back that happened does give this book a bit of a historical or maybe like a chronicle type feel, though very inconsistent. Honestly, I didn't mind it so much, and many of you probably won't mind it either. In fact, this book was actually revised at one point by Moorcock, and I have heard that the main thing he focused on was the prose in it, his writing style. So maybe that was actually addressed in some of the later revised editions, I'm not sure. But yeah, depending on what edition you read, this may not even be an issue. Just a mile and make it tender. Some locations in this book retain their original names, like we have France, we have Europe, while others are completely new. But my favorite names have been altered over time. They were actual locations in England and Europe and the world. However, they've been altered. Let's see if let's see how many of these you guys can guess. Lundra, Grand Bretagne, the mysterious land across the Great Sea, America. But by far my favorite is Asia Comunista. Just a mile. Call me not traitor, Hawkmoon said angrily. You sniffer of corpses. Now you all know what to call your coworkers tomorrow. Just a mile. And finally, fun. Fun in the truest sense of the word. I had just recently read Hour of the Dragon, or Conan the Conqueror, and it was a total blast. Moorcock is not the wordsmith that Robert Howard is, or was, excuse me, but Jewel in the Skull was just as fun. Yeah. In fact, and I know this might be sacrilegious to some of you, it might have been more fun. It's definitely more fun. This book is such an entertaining read. I promise you will enjoy it from cover to cover. So what's the verdict? Museum, 5 out of 5. Top ranks. The wild thing here, earlier I alluded to this book being rushed, but that is a bit of an understatement. During this time, Moorcock would write 15,000 words a day. I mean, well, here, you can hear it from the man himself.
The Hawkmoon books, for instance, were all done to exactly the same length. every manuscript ends on exactly the same page as the previous one, and I wrote that in a very, very disciplined way. I mean, they took me 3 days each, so I didn't have that much time to do them in.
Absolutely amazing. Is this book perfect? No, but the world was engrossing, the characters vibrant and interesting, and the action visceral and non-stop. And the mystery and lore of this world makes me want to hunt down the next book in Dorian Hawkmoon's adventures. It's like I always say, if you're a talented storyteller, a hard-working writer, you can get away with people riding giant flamingos. And that is my review of The Jewel in the Skull. Awesome, right? Have any of you guys read this, or have any of you guys read the entire series? If so, let us know your thoughts in the comments, although keep it spoiler-free, please. As always, thanks for watching. Man, Fantasy February is off to a cracking start. I'll see you all next time with